Today I want to talk about electrolytes, and I'm going to preface this by saying I am by no means an expert. I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is not even a suggestion. I'm simply wanting to share some information that I know because I've taken physiology. I am studying this kind of stuff in school and some of my opinions, but this is a very deep and intricate topic. And it seems to be one of those things where a lot of people act like they know what they're talking about with electrolytes, and they really don't. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I fully know what I'm talking about either, because this topic is so deep. However, I want to address a couple things that I have been noticing in the carnivore world and community lately that is kind of concerning to me. I've seen some people lately thinking that, let me backtrack a little bit. First of all, what is an electrolyte? What are electrolytes? It's like this buzzword. Electrolytes are electrically charged ions that our bodies need for cellular function, for metabolic function, for the acid-base balance, and for overall homeostasis. And they're in mineral form. So basically, electrolytes are minerals that your body needs to function. And two of the most important ones are sodium and potassium. And amongst the carnivore community lately, I've seen some talk of no salt, not using salt. And I find that highly concerning, considering our cellular functions require sodium just to operate normally. They require potassium. And not all sodium or potassium is created equal. There are a lot of different kinds. I am not completely well versed in all of it, but I will give you some insights on a few things that I do know. In regards to salt, table salt is not good for you. It's sodium chloride, and it's toxic, basically, to sum it up. So some recommendations that I would give you for salt is Redmond's Real Salt. It's out of Utah. I also really enjoy Celtic sea salt. And I also enjoy a brand called Giddy from Ecuador. It is a rock salt, and it's really good. Once I started learning about how imperative sodium really is for your body, I went and bought a bunch of different kinds from different areas, and I really want to get some from Iceland too, because salt from the earth has lots of trace minerals in it. And a lot of people are big on Himalayan salt recently, but again, that's like one of those fads that's, when you can buy something at the dollar store, is it really going to be that good for you? There is talk of quartz crystals being in the salt, in the Himalayan salt. And when I've put some in my bath, it didn't all dissolve. So that's like rocks in your salt, and it should all be dissolvable if it's real true salt. So just yield some caution with the Himalayan salt. I don't know how to discern or figure out which mines are better than others, or even if you can figure that out, which company is getting it from which mines, but just yield some caution. I would say probably the rock salt, where the bigger chunks of Himalayan and you grind it up yourself, is probably going to be a lot safer than the finely ground stuff. And potassium is a critical component to healthy cellular function. Our cells have a sodium-potassium pump, so the membranes operate through channels. They keep a balance, and they need sodium and potassium to flow through these channels. And again, this is really intricate and complicated, but low sodium and low potassium can lead to all kinds of issues and problems. It can lead to chronic dehydration. And I can tell you, for me personally, recently, I realized I was not getting enough potassium. I was feeling like I couldn't drink enough water, and yet I was drinking like 4 liters a day and feeling not hydrated. And then recently I was starting to get some leg cramps, like early in the morning, like when I was sleeping. Not real bad, like Charlie horse bad, but enough where I was like, okay, I have something going on. And I started looking at the potassium, and so I've really increased my potassium. And the kind of potassium that I take and put in my water is potassium citrate. You will see potassium chloride on all kinds of like electrolyte combos, and I have a couple here to show you, because before I knew what I was doing, or taking the time to research, I get stuff like this. And you have to really look at the ingredients on these things, because potassium chloride is one of the 3 ingredients in lethal injections, and it can cause cardiac arrest. I personally would not take potassium chloride. I have a powder, potassium citrate, that I just add like a teaspoon into each of my liters of water. In regards to how much sodium and how much potassium you should be taking, that's up to you. You have to experiment and figure it out for yourself and find the right amount that your body needs in your particular situation and your particular state of health. And I also had this these drops, this liquid concentrate. And while these things have other good stuff in there, personally, I'm throwing these in the trash and I'm dumping this out, keeping the bottle because I like to keep glass bottles. But I also happen to have, well, not just happened, but I mean, I bought it before, again, I knew. I bought some powder electrolytes, and these have potassium citrate in it. So also, electrolytes are not just sodium and potassium. There's magnesium. Our bodies also use chloride, and that's where it's going to get a little tricky. When you know that the cells use chloride, and then you see something like potassium chloride and stuff like this, it seems logical to think, oh, well, that should be fine, right? But the thing is when they're making potassium chloride, they're using chlorine molecules to make it, and we don't have any physiological functions for chlorine. And that gets into chemistry. It starts to get really complicated. Again, it's one of those areas that I'm still learning, I'm still understanding, and it's really good to go do your own research. Really, please just do your own research on any of this stuff, anything I say, anything anybody else says. I've again, in the carnivore community, seen people like, well, meats have sodium, so you can just eat meat and not add salt to it. Well, I went and looked up how much sodium is in meat, and like, for example, a 3-ounce cut of steak had like 57 milligrams of salt, and in 1 teaspoon of salt, there's over 2,000, like 2,300. And you need like probably a couple teaspoons of salt a day. And again, everyone's going to be different. So you're going to have to listen to your body and what your body is needing. But like, you're really not going to get enough sodium in your diet from just eating meat. And maybe these people are feeling great at first. But what about the long-term repercussions? You may feel great doing something initially, but as you heal, as your body changes, you have to change your supplementing, what you're eating, how much you're eating. Like maybe you need a ton of salt at first to get back in balance. And then later on, maybe you need a little less salt. Like me, I need probably a lot more potassium right now. I feel like I'm really deficient in a lot of things. And I'm also increasing my magnesium. That's another key mineral that we need. And that gets into a whole nother topic too, which I'm still, navigating through, because there are a ton of different kinds of magnesium. I recently just listened to an interview with, I believe his name is Morley Robbins, and he suggests magnesium glycinate and magnesium malate. There's all kinds of different magnesium out there, and again, you may react poorly to some types versus others. I'm not sure the validity of whether or not some are more effective than others. But magnesium is critical to thousands of functions in the body. And it has to do with enzyme function, metabolic function, cellular function, all kinds of things, neurological function. So I personally have been using magnesium glycinate on my feet at night. And then I have a supplement from my chiropractor, and it's magnesium like bicitronate or something. I don't know. I can't remember what kind it is. But I also have that calm magnesium powder, which I believe is magnesium citrate, and I've seen mixed information about that. So I won't say I recommend it, but I also have it and use it. But maybe it's not so good for me. It's becoming a really complicated topic, but at the end of the day, getting enough potassium and sodium in your diet for the electrolytes, especially if you're going to eat carnivore, is really important. Also, getting enough copper in is really important, and copper is one of those things that's not really talked about very often. Copper is essential for the balance of iron in your blood and in your body, and we pretty much have a copper deficiency issue going on and an iron surplus. Everybody thinks that iron deficiency is an issue when it's really not, and it becomes a very complicated topic trying to figure out what you need and to balance your body out. We have become so deficient in so many areas. When you think of ancestral eating, they would drink water from streams that were rich in minerals. Animals seek out salt. They'll travel for miles and miles to find salt because we need salt. And people used to heavily salt their meat to preserve it because there was no refrigeration. And so people used to get a lot more salt, and I think maybe that might be part of the misleading part of people thinking that you're going to get enough sodium in your meat, but that's not how it's being preserved and prepared, I should say. And also, people used to drink blood from the animals, which is rich in minerals, but you're not going to get any blood from the grocery store or in your meat. They drain the blood from the animals when they're butchered, and we are just truly not eating ancestrally, and our plants are grown in mineral deficient and just nutrient devoid soil. So plants can't just create nutrients and minerals out of nowhere. It comes from the soil. And it's just become this compounding, escalating issue, and we really have to start paying attention to the quality of our food, the quality of our supplements. There's all sorts of hidden ingredients and things that are not good for you, and you just really have to start paying closer attention to minerals, because minerals are how the body functions. We're electrical beings, And sodium is a conductor. And think about it, when you cry or when you sweat, that is salt water coming out of you. You have to have sodium. You have to have potassium. You have to have magnesium. And the amounts and the types are up to you to navigate. Perhaps I will dive into this deeper later on. But for now, I just wanted to express my concerns and input on the whole idea that you can exist without salt or sodium. That's not possible. It's just physiologically not possible. It is not possible to exist without potassium. So do your research. Always question everything. Don't just stop at one thing and think, oh, well, I found the answer. That's great. I'm going to leave it at that. Like, new information can come up all the time. Case by case basis is everyone's unique. So don't just think that you're going to be fine with these electrolyte powders. Like, what else is in there? Is there sugar in it? Is there natural flavoring? Yeah, just do your research. And then I also suggest, if you really want to get into this and learn about this kind of stuff, go onto YouTube and search something like potassium physiology or like dehydration physiology. When you follow it up with the word physiology, you're going to get really into like the body functioning, how things work, and then you can go from there. So best of luck to you. If you're doing carnivore, great, good on you. I thoroughly enjoy this way of eating, and I hope for nothing but health and wellness for every single one of you.